Welcome, fans, to another live edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast, and also the January dry edition of the Mario Mancini Show.
Mario Mancini Show.
My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and of course, we are joined by the ubiquitous Mario Mancini. But before we get to him, I'm going to throw to Maurice, Mr. Cheap Heat, to discuss the huge breaking news that we have tonight.
Yes, this is just straight off the press, and I'm sure it's going to be in all the news stories tomorrow that June 29th in Napanee, Ontario, Canada, Mario Mancini is coming out of retirement.
For Great North Wrestling, an exclusive. Your thoughts, sir?
8 days. 8 days after my 58th birthday. 8 days after my 58th birthday. I don't, it's, I don't know. How can I compare this? It's like, I don't know, trying to have popcorn kernels pop in a popcorn machine that only heats up to, 40 degrees. It's going to be an interesting show. In all seriousness, I'm going to rely on my psychology skills to get through a wrestling match. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll just mimic a la Chief Jake Strongbow, my second father, and I'm sure I'll be fine because the Chief has taught me many things, not only about wrestling but about life. But a lot of wrestling and a lot of psychology, so I'm sure I'll be able to get through it, no problem. I am planning on bringing Nikki Duke, hopefully. She's suffered some injuries, but I'm looking to bring Nikki with us. And I sent her a message. She's healing, and I said, focus. The goal is June 29th. I'd like to bring her there. And hot off the press here, which I think it's only fair that I warn the Canadian people that Brad Baylor's coming to Canada, and I can't even fathom those poor people. This kid isn't even 20 years old, and what comes out of his mouth I can't control. But it's I'm sure a lot of people are going to get offended. Here's the problem, though: the kid can back it up with his wrestling skills. So that'll make them hate him even more. You know what I mean? So every time I see the kid work, I want to call him the natural, but that was already taken. So it's just like if you see a guy that's 6'2" and he's got broad shoulders and a 28-inch waist. What do you say? You say, well, that guy probably makes a pretty good bodybuilder, right? So this kid is just built for professional wrestling. He's just got it. He's got the it factor. You know what I mean? That not a lot of people have. Um, outside of the wrestling business, he comes from a great family, a great mom and dad. And yeah, in 2024, yeah, the mom and dad are together. So he comes from a great family. He's a very nice, respectful young man. However, um, the thing is behind closed doors, you know, he is who he is. But wh- outside of those closed doors, nobody's going to get him to break his character. So nobody's going to think this is a really good humble kid. Nobody, because he won't break his character. He won't do that. And I think, Jack, you're going to be very pleased with him, extremely pleased. And I think you're going to want him back. And I hope you do want him back because he will go back. He wants to wrestle anywhere he could possibly work. I'll tap in the Holiday if your budget allows it. I'll tap in the Holiday and see if he wants to go. Um, but Nikki, I'm concerned about Nikki. Like, I'm worried sick, and I know she says I hate when people say that. It's just I know she's strong enough to get through it. I just want to make sure she's going to be okay. Pretty serious injury, so um, hopefully she'll be okay and she'll be able to come. And you got Roma. I pretty sure you got Roma. Um, I think Scott Wilder wants to jump in the car.
Look, he's already commenting. Where's my money?
Where's my money? Scott wants to jump in the car. Scott,
He's
plug.
your big cash cow now.
Listen, Scott, you better plug Maryland because on February 4th, because I forgot the town. You better plug Maryland. I got to give him a cut. I got to give Scott a cut of everything I make. I'm surprised I'm not sending him a cut from my paycheck from my day job. So yeah. Shout out though. A shout out to Joe Molinari. Shout out to him. Or I think it's Molinaro. Joe Molinaro. Listen, anybody who says they're eating dinner and listen to my podcast gets a shout out. Because he could say, listen, I was eating dinner, I was listening to your podcast, but I shut it off and put on the TV instead. So Joe Molinaro, thank you so much. So yeah, I listen, I want this to be a fun trip. If Roma can I know we'll work something out with Roma, but I want it to be a fun trip. If Holiday can come, that'd be great. Um, Baylor's definitely in. I booked him today through his agent. So MCW Jopa, Maryland. Roma and I will be there on the 4th of February with Scott Wilder. With Scott Wilder.
Are
We'll
you
be with
signing? Are you signing 8x10s there, Mario?
yeah. Jimmy, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart will be there.
No, I mean right now.
No, I'm just doodling, man. I'm just doodling. Listen, it's been a very busy December and January. I've gone through some stuff that if I had my way, I would have never went through. But there's
Andy
my brother
Hogan.
there. There's my brother Hogan. And listen, Randy, I saw a clip. You can find it on TikTok where Hogan was pulling up somewhere and there was a Hogan impersonator. Brother couldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole.
Exactly.
Could not touch you with a 10-foot pole. He couldn't touch you.
Here's a
So
comment, Mario, from Greg C. As Brad's father agent, I can tell you he is excited to show the Canadian people what a real wrestler looks like. And being a heel myself, I can appreciate that. So very excited.
yeah, well that's the agent I booked him through. Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
like an
I mean,
invasion.
listen. This kid gets heat. I mean, he gets heat. So it's gonna be a good time. Um, and I'm glad you told me the date so I can book it ahead of time so the date's open. So wait, let me tell you something that's really really cool, really cool. So a few years ago, Greg comes to the wrestling school, wants to be a wrestler. And obviously his father's got the same name, Craig, so his father comes with him, right? And he's kind of freaked out. And I'm like, because you guys know me, well, I'll say it again. I'm the lowest form on the wrestling food chain. Who cares? You know what I mean? And he just was mesmerized by Roma and I, and I'm like, what? I don't get it. So now he looks at me and he goes, when I was a kid, I lived in Poughkeepsie and I went to every single TV taping. So Greg's father saw me against Savage. He saw me against Bundy. He saw me against everyone I wrestled in Poughkeepsie and Roma too. So now, years later, his son wants to be a pro wrestler, and there's dad now, 50 years old, and looking at two guys he used to watch when, he was 14 years old. It was really, it was awesome. It was awesome. I didn't know he never missed the TV taping in Poughkeepsie, because that's where I think from 84 to 86, if I'm right, we just taped in Poughkeepsie, and I think it was 86 where Vince decided he wanted to take the TV taping on the road. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool that, there he is. Obviously he introduced when his son became old enough to understand, he introduced him to pro wrestling because he was such a fan. And then years later, his son becomes not only a pro wrestler, but somebody this kid's got a huge future, huge. He's already been down to developmental. He's already been down there. So they're keeping an eye on him. They're getting to groom him at a very young age, which is great. You know what I mean? I hope he doesn't sustain any major injuries, and at the same time, he can, put away maybe $10 or $15 million in his lifetime, and live a good life. You know what I mean? I live the dream that I never lived. You know what I mean? That's my biggest reward, living vicariously through these students. If they can make it, I'll feel like I made it. You know what I mean? So because I never did, I just didn't make it. I remember walking out of Huntsville, Alabama in 1992, my last match against Rick Rude, and the next day I got on a plane to go home, and I can remember buckling myself up in the seat. I remember this, and kind of looking out the window at a window seat, and I went, well, that didn't go exactly the way I thought it was going to go. So, anytime my students, I call 'em my family, could really accelerate in the business, it makes me really happy.
Well, this
Mario.
is the exciting part about. Sorry to cut you off, Maurice. I'll just make a brief statement. This is the exciting part about the new era of Great North Wrestling, which we celebrated a 15th anniversary last May in a big show in Ottawa. And moving forward, we're trying to give opportunities to those young talents that really deserve an opportunity. And I point to our Canadian champion, Magna McLaren, right now, who won the belt in July in Smith Falls. And not only that, but balance the bringing in the veteran favorites, et cetera, but also provide that platform for independent workers to get experience. Of course, it's on YouTube, so there's a hard cam. There's all those skills that they need to hone their craft outside of the dojo. And knowing your operation and Mr. Roma's operation, we're very excited to be establishing this working relationship.
Yeah, Jack. It's no secret, Maurice. When I told Jack that it's going to be 8 days after my 58th birthday, I said, but you know what, Jack, I love you, so I'll do it. And you know what? God gave me a gift. This is why I've had the drama I've been having. I had a gut feeling when it's at its inception that it was going to be a problem, and I just prayed that it wouldn't be, and it ended up being one. That gut feeling. So Jack is Jack reminds me of the old school guys. I think that's why I have this gut feeling for him, like that Jack Tunney and that Arnold Skolin. You know what I mean? I get that feeling from him, so that brings my respect level way up, way, way. Like I'll do anything for him.
I
So I
appreciate that.
I
Thank
I
you.
I appreciate that, and especially about the people in my school, and having Roma at the helm uh, of teaching. He'll look at somebody in that school and go, listen, Canada's coming up. I won't send you. I won't send you to Jack unless I know you're going to bring it. You know what I mean? So, the only thing I can hope for with this as a guy like Baylor could, however, how often you run shows, he becomes a staple for you. He gets more experience out there. Maybe he gets booked more in Canada. I mean, this is a kid, right? Right? It's a great position to be in. This is a kid. He has no responsibilities. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have any kids. He doesn't have a mortgage. He doesn't have a, so he can travel the world and give this a shot. You know what I mean? A true shot. And he's got great support from an extremely loving family. So, just his mother and father. I mean, they're aghast. They really are. They're great people. I won't even tell you the story about how I initially got to know him. Greg's father stopped me in my tracks. I was like, what? But it's another story. What did you just say? So, they're just fun people. I mean, we had his 50th birthday party at Paradise Alley. Greg's father. Well, he's just great people, and it reflects in their son. You know what I mean? And those are the people that you want in the business. Those are the people that you want in business because they'll appreciate and respect it, and instead of thinking they're entitled to it. They'll, Greg's worked hard. He's worked hard. You guys know I make cheesecakes for a hobby, and I've given a couple to his father, and I'd look at the kid and go, "Did you have any?" He'd go, Maury, I can't. Start. He's rubbing his abs, going, I can't do that. You know what I mean? So he takes it very seriously. So, um, the guardian of chaos, Big Daddy, my brother, um, who I love like my own brother. Hopefully he's feeling better, Big Daddy. I hope you're starting to come out of your aches and pains. That's another guy who is spent, from the time of his interest in pro wrestling is 40 years. And he was one of those few managers, kind of like Lou Albano, um, that took a lot of bumps. Big Daddy took a lot of bumps in his career, man. A lot outside the ring, on a concrete floor, in the ring, over the ropes. So, a couple times a year he'll become almost incapacitated. So I hope you're coming out of that. You can tell when Big Daddy's not well, because I called him a few times and it went right to his voicemail. So that means, Mancini, I love you. Don't want to talk to anybody. Very private guy. The most private guy you'll ever meet is Big Daddy. Um, so hopefully he's feeling better, and his heart gets comforted. But we won't get, I would never dare get into that, but I'll just say that. Um, so January 20th is New Year's resolution for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. Bell time 7 o'clock. Also, I want to mention, in case you guys haven't noticed, that I'm not going to mention the guy's name. There's this huge 400-pound guy on TikTok who like gets $100 worth of McDonald's and he eats it, and $100 worth of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he started out at like 150 pounds in 2016. He's like 400 pounds now. I just kind of shrugged my shoulders at it. I was going through YouTube because every now and then somebody will post a new match of mine, and I'm really looking for the match where I wrestled Big John Studd in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. The night where I looked up at the board and I saw Studd Mancini, and I went up to John and I said, "John, it's us." And he said, "Oh, thank God." I go, "What's the matter?" He goes, "Man, I can't move. My back is killing me." He goes, "It's killing me." He goes, "When I get you up for that backbreaker, you're gonna have to get up yourself. And I know you can do that." I said, "Yeah, I can. I will. No problem." And he goes, "For that, you're going to get me up the farthest." And I went, "What?" He goes, "For that, you're going to get me up the farthest." It was the $15,000 body slam challenge, prior to WrestleMania 1. WrestleMania 1.
Mm.
So he came charging in that buckle, and he hit the buckle, and he turned around, and I got him. I got him like that, and the whole place went whoa. And then I dropped him, like he was too heavy for me to hold. I started selling my lower back. So I'm really waiting to see that on YouTube someday, because it was one of my favorite matches. One of my favorite jobs that I ever did. But as I was scrolling through YouTube, they had a little documentary on this guy that ate all this food, who's 400 pounds now, and he lives in a $2.4 million house.
Yeah.
A $2.4 million house. Now, I can't do what he does because I have type 2 diabetes, and that would kill me. That would just put me in the grave. I can't do that. So I was driving in a car one day, and I go, "Dang, I got to do something. I've got to do something. What can I do? I got to do something." So a song came on the radio, and I hit the record, and I sang the song. So now I'm looking at the song's done, and I'm looking at the screen going, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" Hi, Herb. I go, "What am I going to do?" So I decided to create the singing wrestler. And I, I put that on TikTok. And amazingly, to my surprise, not one person has said, "You suck" yet. And of course, Maurice, you know of the offer I received for going on to do that. So I got an offer to go on. Don't forget the lyrics, um, which I hope
Dublin.
to do. Yeah, which I hope to do in Los Angeles or New York. But I guess I'm trying to say that has relieved a lot of my stress. I've really enjoyed doing that, and it's relieved a lot of my stress. I have the same problems Big Daddy has. I would love, and I was in 2000 2021. I was going every day. I started getting into a groove. But the more I think, I would love to go back to the gym. I really would. I would love to go back to the gym. I'd love to take off 40 pounds. I'd love to start pumping the weights, but I know my body is just going to scream at me. And I'm closer to 60 than I am to 50. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I watch what I eat the best I can. Unless I'm pissed, then I don't care what I eat. So I'm an emotional eater. So, uh, this singing really, kind of gets the stress out. But Jack, we need to get together on this, and I'm excited. I'm excited for this show because I have I have females in the hopper as students. They're not ready yet, but boy, when they're ready, they'll make an impression. I have Rachel Ray, I have Jada, who's a tremendous athlete. I have I have I have a wrestler that's come over that's already a pro that's come over from another organization. Nicole Matala. She works. She is Indian, American Indian. So um, I'm excited for the talent to go over there. I mean, to get a guy like Marbury. I don't know if you ever saw Marbury work. Marbury comes out with a mascot. He comes out with a basketball, and he comes out in a basketball, but the kid could bring it. Like, here's an example. When Holiday was rehabbing, of course, he came home. He said, Mario, when the cancer was in remission, he goes, "I need to get back." And you know what? I met him immediately, and I gave him the key to the kingdom. I said, "Here's a key. That's your home. Here's a key." We're talking about the first student that ever went to Paradise Alley. The first one is Richard Holiday. It's the first guy to ever enter the ring in that school. So I gave him a key, and I said, rock on. And of course, he called Baylor. He's not stupid. He called people that can only hang with him. And he called Baylor, and he said, "Great, meet me at the school, work out with me," because he knew that Baylor can bring it. And then he also worked out with Marbury, and I watched he and Marbury work out, and Marbury wasn't missing anything. He wasn't skipping a beat at all. So he's a very impressive worker, very impressive. I'd like to in the future, I'd like to bring Sunset Steve Garcia down there. He's another one, high flyer, very entertaining guy. Um, there's a lot of guys in the hopper there that could really that could benefit from going down there. But you know what it is, Jack? It's what I want them to have is hitting the road. That's why Roma and I would bring a group of guys to Costello, the Brian Costello in Indiana. That's not 5 hours. Canada's 5 hours. Costello was 14, but
Wow.
they experienced going on the road. Roma could have easily flew in. I could have easily flew. Roma said, "No, get in the car, feel this." Feel this. So it's going on the road and the camaraderie and knowing you're going for a purpose that's in your heart and you want to do this listen, it's a lot of fun. In the middle of my career, I used to tell people that it was true too. Sick. I used to tell people the wrestling got in the way. The wrestling got in the way. There came a time, especially TV taping, because everybody's there. So you go to a house show, you might have some favorite people there, some people you're not that close to, some people you're okay with. But house shows are really fun when you're with people you're really, really close to. So TV, everybody's there, so it doesn't matter. And I can remember Strongbow screaming for me because if I was third up and the match was in, that means there's a match before me and then I'm up. So they want you at the gorilla position, ready to go. Make sure you're there. And he's screaming, Mancini. Maybe Billy Jack Haynes was there, Junkyard Dog was there, making us, me and SD, and making us laugh our ass off. And then I'd hear my name, and Strongbow would go, "Would you get your ass upstairs?" And I'd look at him and go, "God, I'll be right back, man. Don't tell the rest of the story until I get back." So I'd go out there, I'd do my thing, and I'd run back to my chair, man, and sit down, and all right, I'm done. So it's that kind of time you have where you remember the match, but you remember the dressing room, you remember the new friends that you met, you remember, the family that you went with, and where you went after the show and who ribbed you in the hotel room, or it's like, when I first went on the road, when I first roomed with Roma, in 84, early 85, we'd room together, and of course, people are human beings, they gotta go to the bathroom. Well, Roma didn't think I was a human being. I'd come out of the bathroom, he'd come up to me. Now we're talking about a 25, 26-year-old Roma. This is not the Roma of today. It was a different Roma back then. So he'd come up to me and he'd go, "Somebody died in your intestines. You're not human. What is that? What is that? Somebody died in your intestines. What the hell are you eating?" And we pissed. I mean, mad when I came out of the bathroom. So when we take the guys on the road, especially in Indiana, Rome would go, "You ready?" I go, "Yeah, I'm ready." And then he'd call the guys up from the school and go, "Listen, it's really important we talk to you about the dressing room, at Brian Costello's show, in a few hours. So, we're going to come down to your room and talk to you about, the setup and everything there that he has and the way he runs things. It's important that you know that." And they're like, "Oh, okay, okay." So we go down there, we knock on the door. Roma's the first one that walks in. And then when Roma walks in, I slide into the bathroom. And then I come out, Roma goes, "Let's go." And I run out of there, and the guys go, "Ah, you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch."
That's just a high protein diet, though. I can respect that.
Mario,
It's
you know,
stuff
you
like
know,
that you remember.
You know who else is going to be on that show? I seen you on his show last week, or was it the week before? Rene Dupree. You were
Nice
on Cafe
kid.
de Rene. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, nice kid, man. Listen, it's no secret.
You may be fighting him. Who knows?
No, no. I'm gonna be in like a 6-man or 8-man tag team. Not one on one, Maurice. You're wrong. So, so I'm gonna say it live. So, like Scott Wilder, you know, if somebody called me for a show, I'd be like, you know, because that it's a point where I got so close to him that just going with him to laugh. I don't care if I make any money. I just want to go there with him and laugh. You know what I mean? That's what we do. But Maurice is the kind of if Maurice says he's like my podcast godfather. If he goes, listen, don't do that podcast, I won't do it. If he says, Mario, do this podcast, I go, okay. No, it'd be really to your benefit. This is a good guy. Do this podcast. They go, all right. Or I'll go, listen, don't do it. And I'll go, okay. So I just listen to Maurice. So when he told me to do that podcast, I went, okay. And really nice guy, really nice guy. It was a pleasure to do it with him,
except
Um,
except for the last show in Renfrew, Ontario, when he clearly broke the rules and physically assaulted me with a briefcase and concussed me. I haven't forgotten about that, Renee. And you know the big money players have stuff always cooking. So look out.
But apart from that, he's fine.
that's another
Nice guy.
issue. That sounds like a pretty big issue there. Yeah, that's a problem.
It is.
That's
It
a
is a
problem.
big problem. I want to just. Oops. I just want to throw up here. Bob the Cooker Cook, great individual. He says he always wanted to be a pro wrestler, but unfortunately, it didn't work out too well. The ever self-deprecating Bob Cook.
Bob, where do you live? I love guys like you. Where do you live?
I think he lives in Florida, doesn't he?
Thereabouts.
All right, that's kind of far, but listen, I got another brother of mine. His name is Kevin Sabin. So, I'm not Kev. I'm not going to tell the whole story. I'm going to tell the whole story. So, Kevin's a big guy, not a tiny guy, and he was in the Coliseum in the '80s. He knew one of the guys that would walk the wrestlers out, and he had run into Vince, and he met Vince, and Vince said, "Wow, you should consider being a wrestler." And Kevin had just turned 60 um, this year, so guys like Cook and guys like Kevin who say, "Gee, I should have," I always find a story for them to get in a ring and do a little something, whether it's somebody goes to throw him a tackle and the other guy takes the bump, or throw clothesline, the wrestler gets mad, hits the ropes, goes, and he just clotheslines the guy. Just just for once in their life, just once, to hear the crowd pop for them and have them get the feeling of being in the ring in that experience, just a 30-second spot, so I always have empathy for people that go, you know, I wanted to be a wrestler, but it just never worked out. And I go, well, listen, let's do a spot. I'm gonna let you live that. I at least want you to have the feeling during your lifetime. Let's work a spot. And I have them get in and work a spot, and it's something for them to remember. You know what I mean? Um,
He lives in Crystal River, Florida.
Yeah, that's a little far, but as I tell the people who, like, I get offended. So does Roma. Roma goes, hammer him. I go, I will. A guy called me. He's like, listen, my friend's getting married, and he always wanted to be a pro wrestler, and we're doing his bachelor party. I'm like, yeah. He's like, we want to take him to your school for an hour and get him in the ring, as part of the bachelor party, and have him mess around and stuff. You always wanted to be a wrestler. I'm like, yeah, $2,000. Yeah, what you're making a mockery. You're making a mockery of something I take very seriously. It's like this isn't a sandbox. It's not a swing set. You know what I mean? Do what everybody else does. Go to a strip bar. You know what I mean? For a bachelor party, do what everybody else does. You don't call me and make a mockery of my business. You know what I mean? Everybody sacrificed so much to be a pro wrestler and try to live their dream, or did live their dream. In my case, they tried. I tried. Um,
Or what Eddie Graham and Bob Roop did to those type of people.
stretch them hard. You know what I mean? But these days, Jack, you know what? You do that, you end up in court. Listen, a class I had this week. Um, you know, they were Sunset Steve went and worked out with the Gotch family, I guess in Maryland, and they really ran a rigorous. I guess there's a deck of cards, and you pull an ace, and those are 20 burpees, or you pull the diamonds, and those are 25 sit-ups, or whatever. And they put them through some rough stuff, and Steve's in pretty good shape, so I don't worry about him ever petering out like that. But the other students heard it and everything, and I go, well, I could teach you like I used to teach back in the late 80s, early 90s, if you want to go through that. And they went, yeah, okay. They couldn't get off the canvas. They could not get off the canvas. And that was me standing outside the ring. So, to go in and stretch somebody these days, it's just so we live in strange times. You know what I mean? Where I have a picture of me when I was 17 with half a layer of skin off my face. Because before the wrestling school opened, I went to the New Haven Coliseum a couple of times, and I got a layer of skin off the side of my face, ring rash, just grinding my face into the canvas, just grinding it. They beat the hell out of you. It's like the August 9th, '84, when I wrestled Schultz, and he broke my nose in two places. Who knows if somebody gets in a wrestling match these days, and the person gets their nose broken, they might get sued, and they'll win because as they taught in law school in torts class, which means a wrongful act, which is basically the law that's followed for, were you injured in a car accident? So it's like, outside, listen to the legal language, outside what's usual and customary for the sport. So what they mean is, if you're playing pro football and the running back's running and he goes to get.
Oh, the Undertaker got him, and now his audio is gone.
Your
Rest in peace.
the audio is gone again. Oh well. He's
This
a
is
man in
regular.
demand.
It's
Yes.
a regular staple of the show now at this point.
It's actually a planned spot for every Mario Mancini show.
And
Right.
this is the ad break. This is the ad break where we can say next week, Jacques Rougeau. Next, is it the 15th, Monday?
The 15th, Jacques Rougeau will be on this broadcast at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Maurice, that's just one of many big guests coming up on the program. And here's Mario back.
Well, that's what happens when somebody tries to call me. So it's like the running back's running with the ball, and the guy that's going to tackle him goes to tackle him and gives him a forearm and breaks his jaw. That's outside the scope of what's usual and customary, and they can get sued for that or get arrested for assault. So these days, stretching, you know what? Unless you're Jody Malenko, I don't think Jody cares. I think Jody will stretch anyway.
There's
I
got to
love
be a
Jody.
happy medium, though. Like you said, I mean, that maybe folks that are uninitiated to the business, they're not fully aware of just how insulting that would be. Let me come in and play in there. Well, it's not for those in the business. It's not a playpen. It's a place of work, and should be afforded that respect. So unfortunately, you can't have Doc and Watts beating the hell out of people anymore. But there's got to be like you said, a middle ground where you can say, hey, this is serious. This is my life's work. This is my life's love. Let's show a little respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank God that the people that have walked through the door of Paradise Alley, I mean, they're very serious about it. They want it. Some want it as a serious career, and they want to go for the gold. They want to make it to the promised land. Believe it or not, there's others that come in and go, listen, I'd be happy booked every weekend doing independent shows. I'd be happy doing that, maybe three days a week. I'd be thrilled. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Independent pro wrestling is a hot thing today. You know what I mean? It's a fantastic route to go. It's no longer considered like a schleppy minor league thing. It's really hot, and these people draw some pretty big crowds, which I would love to draw pretty big crowds. Oh
Well,
God.
it's interesting that post 2000 with Ring of Honor and that golden age of independent wrestling, that so many major stars came out of the indies today and are making very viable careers in the major organizations. And as you know, that wasn't always that way.
Right. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't always that way at all. No. Nope.
Matt Cardona, prime example.
Cooker saying Joe Malenko is one of the best ever and a legit badass. Every school should do a seminar with Joe.
I agree 1,000%. Again, I've mentioned it before. When you talk about the Gotch family or the Malenko family or the Hart family or the Samoan dynasty, it's all wrestling royalty. It's all wrestling royalty. I mean, they're giants, just giants in the business, giants. So, a lot of respect, to them. Look, Barry Horowitz came out of Malenko's school. Um, Broadway Joe came out of, he was with the WCW. He came out of Malenko's school. Um, so, they obviously put out great talent. You know what I mean? So, uh, these are this is wrestling royalty.
And I think it's really exciting that there's the opportunity that your vision and Mr. Roma's vision of the importance of the experience of going on the road and working, new territories or new areas such as Canada up here with Great North Wrestling. That'll be something that a lot of folks sometimes don't get and can only improve their appreciation for the business when they go on and do other things.
Jack, that Great North Wrestling is huge to these kids. Think about it. I mean, yeah, we run a show once a month. That's great, and you know, companies and Slick Wagner Brown, great kid, will run a show, or between Connecticut and Massachusetts, but for these kids to be a staple, if you wish them to be a staple in your organization, to say, hey, once a month or once every other month, I'm going to Canada. You know what I mean? And then, you getting a hold of me or Roma and go, hey, you got anybody else that can really bring it? And he'll say, yeah, I'll send Marbury up to you. And, they don't even have to go through the expense of bringing somebody with them. I mean, if you had somebody there that would just fit into uh, the basketball costume there, um, when Marbury comes out, I mean, the kid is just really good. He's just really good. Baylor's above and beyond. Um, so Sunset Steve's good. We got, you know, our world champion Hunter Tarka. He's another one, but he's moving soon. He's another one. You know, a real interesting guy we have that's a veteran is Bloodsaw. I mean, if anyone, we've had Bloodsaw on a show where the first three matches they were good, they were okay, but when he comes out, he just never ignores um never ignores the crowd ever ever. He gets the crowd into it like crazy. You know, he's a really good entertainer. Um, so we have a lot of we have a good stable. We have a good stable of guys that could really bring some entertainment to Great North. So it's a huge opportunity. It really is a huge opportunity for these kids to be able to say that I'm going there, to work. That's a tremendous opportunity.
Well, the future definitely looks bright on that front, and as I always say, no matter where you are, support independent wrestling, and that includes the very hot scene over in Ireland. Correct, Maurice?
Absolutely. I sent you over some stuff. Actually, Mario, I can give you some login details if you want to watch a few things for over here as well, if you have the time.
Okay.
Got a good on-demand service, so I can send it
So
over to you.
does anybody have any scuttlebutt about Dwayne? Is he just ducking in for a minute, or is he gonna stay? The
For
Rock.
The Rock. Oh, he'd come in for the full WrestleMania program now, I think. Well, not full, but I'd imagine there'll be 5 or 6 dates in the lead up to WrestleMania. Yeah, but it looks like, from judging by what he was saying, I think it was today on social media, that he's here for one more run anyway.
Yeah. You always go home. No matter
Yep,
how many movies you do, what do, you go back to your first love and you go home.
I'm
You
all
know?
for it personally.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's a great
He's the
guy.
biggest superstar in the world, really, isn't he?
He's a great guy too. So
But what about Cody's story?
Ah, fuck Cody.
I'm not familiar with it.
He's
He's Goldust's brother, Mario.
Yeah, I know.
his
Cody
destiny
Rhodes.
That's about it.
to achieve the WWE Heavyweight Championship, the belt that escaped the legendary Dusty Rhodes, and he came back from that other organization to finish that story. And a lot of fans felt they should have pulled the trigger with Reigns last go around, but now the money before The Rock came on the scene again was that he was going to main event against Roman and finally bring that title back to the Rhodes family. Now, who knows?
I think there's a reason why it's been, what, 2.5 years nearly since he came back. And they still haven't put the belt on him.
Wow. He left AEW that long ago?
Yes.
Wow. How's AEW doing?
Well, that's I guess it depends on what metric you look at. Live attendance is suffering; it's quite down. The ratings are down, but Mr. Khan is providing an endless source of entertainment via his social media posts, notably on X, engaging
Bashing
in
WWE.
all sort of interactions with folks. Most recently, a man whose opinions on the business I really respect, and that being the Disco Inferno, who he referred to, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now as a parasite and a never relevant force in the business, which I would disagree with, due to the fact that he was pulling ratings on WCW during the hottest period in the business and was a former TV champion.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that. But this is the thing. I mean, am I crazy? Am I nuts? I mean, why doesn't he just take Holiday and Hammerstone and write that storyline with MJF like they were in MLW, that threesome? I mean, even you know, what they were over big. They were over big. You know, I don't understand why that they don't give birth to that again. I mean, even Jim Cornette on his show had mentioned what were they, the Dynasty? Um, Jeez, I forgot what they were called. Um, but all three of them, Jim said, worked in what chemistry with those three guys, and the storylines. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't do that. I mean, I don't know. Call me nuts. I don't call me crazy. I have no idea. I mean, they can call them something else for God's sakes, but for Hammerstone and Holiday not to be there with MJF, I mean,
I
there's a huge history there.
Yeah. With the amount of guys and experience that they have signed, guys like Sting, guys like Taz, this week they signed Scott Garland, Scotty. They have all these very, very experienced guys in different phases of the business. But the problem is at the top. And I think that this Tony Khan is making all these decisions. And I don't know why he's hired so many guys, because there's no way people can be making these decisions that he's making. And I'm not even talking about the tweeting, and the stuff with Jinder Mahal this week was way out of line as well, in my opinion. But he's got loads of wrestling people around him, but I don't think he's using them.
You know,
No,
Roma left him a voicemail. He left him a voicemail saying, "Listen, I'd like to help you with your company and your storylines." You know, because Roma's got great storylines, and he never got back to him. I mean, you know, these guys should be back there doing storylines. I mean, you gotta let it go. I mean, I have no right to. I'm not judging anybody. I'm gonna use myself. Yes, I'm going to Great North Wrestling. Yes, I'm going to lace my boots, put my knee pads on, and I'm going to walk out there and I'm going to work. After somebody stretches my hamstrings into the point of me screaming, um, to loosen up all my calcium deposits and everything. That's an isolated thing. That's a one shot deal. I can't go in there and work. You know, like I did when I was 23. You know what I mean? It's like at one point, your body does say your head wants it and your heart wants it, but your body goes, "Man, doing that. Not doing that." You know what I mean? So I don't. And these guys are big stars. I have no right. You know what I mean? They went a lot farther than me, but you know what's Sting want to do? Have a heart attack in the ring? You know what I mean?
He's having, I think he's having his last match in May, is it, Jack?
yes, yes.
Well,
In a,
well,
I believe a 6-man.
well, yeah. Come on, man. Because listen, he can't. The only way you're going to build a company is with brand new talent, storylines, great promos. You know what I mean? And great storylines. I mean, it's not. It's
March.
it's it's not.
March.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's as easy as, well, I want to start a storyline with Piper and Snuka. What do you want to do? Well, have them do a Piper's Pit. Well, what do you want to do during the Piper's Pit? Huh? I know he comes from an island. I don't know. We hit him in the head with a coconut. That started holy hell. You know what I mean? That started holy hell. So you know, or you take something simple like Terry Daniels. You know, Sergeant Slaughter's a great big star, and all of a sudden he brings in you know, Terry Daniels as one of his cadets or whatever, and then you know, there's all kinds of ideas with young talent that are coming up. I mean, look, the names are the names. There's no doubt. Great North Wrestling books Hulk Hogan to come out, tear his T-shirt, bang some poses, go like this, and this. Well, the place is going to be sold out just on who he is. He doesn't have to lock up with anybody. And these guys should be at that phase where Tony Khan can have them present at a show. Doesn't mean they have to lock up anybody. People come see him just because they're going to be there. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to lock up. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just me. Call me crazy.
I think the part for me that's hard to understand as a promoter myself and do the booking for our shows is the fact that Tony's got or had Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Malenko, Jerry Lynn, on, and I'm forgetting Snake Roberts, one of the greatest minds for the business that ever was. And he insists on doing the creative for all the shows without, from what people say, experts that know, backstage sources or whatever, and isn't utilizing them. I can say from my experience, I am much more open and thankful for collaboration on shows, because I don't know everything. I certainly don't have a mind on a caliber of some of the vets that I've had the pleasure of having in my locker room. So it's a balance. The other strange part about AEW is he's very rigid in that respect, yet doesn't appear to be the final word or the boss at the end of the day. So it's quite an interesting case of psychology there.
And let's not forget, he fired his biggest star and he went straight back into WWE.
He fired him.
Yes.
Wow.
CM Punk.
Wow.
There we go.
Wow.
So it's I'm not one of these folks, and I know Maurice isn't either, that rejoices in the troubles of AEW or predicting its demise or willing its demise, because guys and gals need a place to work, and it's a tremendous opportunity. But there are major problems there, and I guess it will depend on when Mr. Khan Sr. decides to cut off the funding, or their television situation becomes less lucrative than it is now. It's troubling all the way around. It would be nice to have a bona fide second, not competitor, but a stable place for people to work and make a living and feed their families.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But you have to have an open mind. Listen, it's the same thing I say about the WWE and the business today. And I'm always very open about it. Back in my day, you had around the table, around a production meeting, you had Howard Finkel, Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, Chief Jay Strongbow, Gorilla Monsoon. You had Terry Garvin. You had all these wrestling minds doing the storylines and doing the production, doing a year planning of storylines and who's going to do what and how they're going to do it. You know what I mean? And then to bring in Hollywood people that don't know the difference between a hammerlock and a padlock, or why you would put someone in one. To me, listen, much respect to Tony Khan. I wish he would take my whole wrestling school, especially Holiday. Much respect to him and his company. But if he wants to be successful, he has to put it in the hands of the people have the minds for wrestling. Guys like Jake Roberts, and you have to call it. I'd call guys in like Jake Roberts and Wayne Ferris and Bill Eadie, especially Bill Eadie, and say, hey, this thing's not working. What can you do for me? And then, put it together, have these great minds say, well, this is, well, you got to do it this way and that way and do that way. You know what I mean? It just, I can't listen. New Haven, Connecticut is the pizza capital of the world, not just the United States. It's the pizza capital of the world. If you Google New Haven pizza, it will say New Haven pizza is the pizza capital of the world. That's pretty big. So if you go into Sally's or Pepe's, who has the same oven in there than they did in 1924, and you go behind the counter and go, yeah, make a pizza. That pizza's not going to come out like the guy who's been doing that for 30 years. He's going to go, you don't make it like that. It's kind of that simple. You know what I mean? It's kind of that simple. So I just can't. Here's the problem. And I'll say it for the millionth time. I broke into the wrestling business. The wrestling business. I didn't break into the entertainment business. Today, it's the entertainment business. So everybody thinks it's entertainment, and they forget about the wrestling. It's the wrestling and what you do with it that sells those tickets.
And by extension, also not the television business, which seems to be the major driving factor. But gentlemen, we have blown through another hour of the very popular Mario Mancini Show Dry January edition. We've got so much more left on the table to talk about, but we will put that over until next time. So many big happenings in the world of professional wrestling, but most notably, as discussed and broke here exclusively, the return of Mario Mancini to a wrestling ring. I'm going to go to each of you for your final thoughts.
Go ahead, Mario.
Try telling Maurice in March it's a dry month. I dare you.
Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Every day is St. Patrick's Day.
Every day is St. Patrick's Day. Well, until we meet again next month, hopefully I'll have something more interesting to talk about. I've just my mind and my emotions. I want my cut.
You should start making for your TikTok, Mario, training videos for getting back in the ring. That'd be good.
That's an excellent idea.
Training videos.
Yeah.
Me in there. Oh, I'll do that.
Yeah.
While singing at the same time.
I'll do that. I'll do that and then plug the show at the same time and say I'm getting ready for June 29th. So
just get on the treadmill and just start singing.
Yeah, that's it. So I just pass out right on the treadmill. Let the belt just shoot me across the room.
Can you do Bohemian Rhapsody on the treadmill, maybe?
Well, you know what? I did Bohemian Rhapsody. The singing wrestler did Bohemian Rhapsody. The thing about it I can't understand is I set it for 60 seconds, so it's not the whole song because I tried a whole song once and TikTok kicked me out. So I said, all right, let me try 60 seconds, and that's been working. So it's really not the whole song; it's part of it, but yeah, the singing wrestler is I don't know. I have fun with it. What can I tell you? But until
Brian Adams, run to you on the treadmill. There's one.
There you go.
Well, fans, that is it for this momentous historical edition of the Mario Mancini Show. I am going to sign off on behalf of Mario and, of course, Maurice, the man from Cheap Heat Productions. Want everyone, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, get the notification so you don't miss any of the tremendous content we have coming up in January, but also in February, and on and on. And be sure to watch for the next Mario Mancini Show. Until that event, I will say good night and farewell, everyone.